All right, guys, what is up, and welcome back to the channel. This is a little bit different setup compared to what you guys are used to, but we've decided that there's a lot of unanswered questions in the VE world that Andy and I have kind of been going over in the past and made a list of some videos we want to make, and hopefully this is the very first video of the series that you will be seeing. And if you ask Evan questions, he will probably send you this way, as we're going to go over everything there is to do from a bone stock VE truck all the way to something as wild as my blue truck. And luckily, Andy and myself have a lot of experience messing with this stuff, and we've kind of gotten all the questions through Facebook Messenger, pretty much all the social media platforms. So we figured this is a good one series, hit it all, and hopefully answer a lot of questions for you guys. So we're going to start out with our first, and Brute's going to join us. But our first video is stock versus aftermarket, and I don't know, Andy kind of mentioned this earlier. We want to hit this main question first because this is what we get asked a lot. You've got a VE truck that you've done all this stuff to, and you think you're getting close to being out of power. You don't know what else to do, and really what people are realizing is they need to go to a comp style pump. So I want to preface this before we get into anything. Whenever me and Andy talk about a comp pump, we're talking about a pump from Evan. That is what we have a first-hand experience with, and what we've done all the tinkering on and all the dyno time on. So that is what we are talking about. So just want to put that out there first. This does not apply to any other comp pump on the market with these characteristics.
And this video specifically will not go in depth on the components within the pump. More so, you got a stock pump on your truck, and then you swap a comp pump on. What are you going to get? What are you going to lose? How's it going to react? So
yes, 100%. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions there. So first, we're gonna start off with the big one: horsepower capabilities and RPM. So let's start off with you got a stock maxed pump. It has all the stuff you can buy online in the pump as far as fuel pin, governor spring, yada yada. And you've gotten all you can out of this pump. Just to kind of put it in perspective, a stock maxed intercooled pump with all the goodies, with a big setup, you're looking at 420-ish horsepower, roughly.
Yeah.
Non-intercooled, 450, maybe.
Andrew Van Meeren.
It was 5 on the money.
A little bit of a bastard child, but it's right at 503, 505.
And that's I would like to say the average owner will not get to that level. Andrew has a lot of knowledge in messing with these pumps to get to that point. So I'm going to say about everybody else, you're looking at about 450 horsepower out of a non-intercooled pump that's stock maxed, and 420, 430 on a really good intercooled pump. So with that being said, you're going to see your peak power RPM around 2,800 RPM. After that, it's going to start to taper. You're going to see that same peak power number. Say your goal's 420 horsepower, 400 horsepower. So you're going to see that peak RPM power range at about 2,800 RPM. It's going to start to taper after that. So that's just part of the VE's fueling system in that stock form.
And pending injector and turbo combination, you can stretch that out or make it really narrow and only
shorter.
Make that power at a certain 200-300 RPM window. It all kind of depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it.
Yeah. So. And again, that's going to be a torquey truck. It's going to do a lot of stuff that you guys want.
What I'd say 91% of people, that's all you're ever going to need.
Yeah, 100%. The big thing about going to the aftermarket or comp style pump like from Evan is going to be your fueling RPM range in general. Say even if you still only want 400 horsepower, a comp pump has a place for you. Luckily, now that Evan started to offer some extra parts, this may change this discussion a little bit, but one of Evan's pumps that's set at 400 horsepower with your same setup, you can go make that exact same 400 horsepower. But you're going to notice that your peak RPM or your peak power is not at 2,800 RPM for the most part. It's going to carry. With enough timing, you'll probably be out closer to that 3,200 range. But it's going to carry that peak number much further. For a good example, my peak horsepower RPM is 3,300 RPM on my truck, and it makes 760 horsepower at 3,300 RPM. At 4,000 RPM, it's still above 700 horsepower. So it does not taper near as much. It's only going to taper 40, 50 horsepower compared to that stock pump. It's going to fall off hard.
I think trying to push a stock pump, it's going to feel like you're, at least in my experience, it feels like you're pushing it, like you're right on the
and edges. You're like, and whenever it starts to nose over,
I mean, it's 260,000 mile head and rotor is not.
Yeah, it's not going to be happy, and you can feel them nose over really hard past 2,800 RPM, which is not something anybody really wants or desires. It's kind of a buzzkill for sure. Yeah. But that is definitely a huge advantage, is your fueling RPM is much different with a comp style pump. So I want to be clear that it doesn't matter if you're only at 300 horsepower. To some guys, that RPM range means something. So luckily, we'll get into the delivery valve discussion in later videos, and that has kind of negated some of these necessities for a comp pump, thanks to Evan. So big shout out there. You'll hear his name plenty of times in this deal. But yeah, as far as horsepower goes, your comp pump, we've done 760 on a wild setup. We probably think a 12 mil comp pump's good for, I mean, I think we can probably do 850. Yeah,
because at this point, this
is the one.
Yeah, that's the one, and it is probably the older. It is the oldest. Well, not the oldest, but it's the most out of date pump to come out of the Ratman shack. So
yeah. So I would say with the right engine setup and everything, I mean, I think we'll probably see maybe 850 on fuel, but again, very different circumstance. It's the extreme of extremes. A lot of you guys just want towing setups and whatnot, so it's much different. But we'll get to that in later videos. Another big question I get is the drivability and reliability of a comp pump versus a stock pump. So Andy can attest to this. I mean, what are we seeing here as far as any differences there?
Drivability?
Yeah, and reliability.
I see it frequent on a drivability, or I guess it kind of plays into both. You southern United States folks, it gets hot, you work your stuff. Midway through the day, your truck starts, and it starts idling like a third gen when it's 13 degrees outside. There's certain things within the stock pump that make that happen, and efficiencies in the comp style pump that alleviate that. So from a reliability standpoint, at least with one of Evan's pumps, you're not getting a reman head and rotor, you're getting brand new stuff. And if you guys aren't familiar with Bosch and their machining capabilities, this stuff is tight. Like the Facebook reels you see of people dropping lathe chucks and stuff into holes, and they just slowly drop in. That's how tight this stuff is. So I'd say if you had a fresh stock pump and a fresh comp pump,
say reliability is probably similar there.
I'd say it's almost identical. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in this that makes it more reliable. It's just much more reliable at a higher horsepower level.
Yeah. And as far as drivability goes, I mean, I would say the drivability on these comp pumps is better than the drivability on a stock max pump. As far as the smokiness and everything, these things drive cleaner. The AFC has way more control on one of Evan's pumps. If you want to put it, for you guys that want to put it into CCs, I mean, a stock max pump with zero boost reference to the AFC, I want to say that Evan told me it was like 200 to 220 cc's. So that is a lot of fuel for 0 psi to the AFC. The AFC is not doing much. This exact pump right here with 0 psi of boost reference to the AFC is only at 70 cc's of fuel. So it's just enough to run. So there is a very wide range of why this thing is so clean, and there's a reason to it. It's because Evan spends a lot of time on the AFC. He's not only focused on max CC output. He's focused on making it a good driving experience overall.
Yeah, and that is so much more efficient than we'll call it a jerry-rigged stock pump. That's just dumping fuel at low RPMs, and that's the negative torque that we've talked about with Evan multiple times. Like I'll consider myself unbiased, even though this whole situation, but I don't own a first gen. I own a VE pump. I drove a truck that was my own with a VE pump on it. But long story short, I've never owned a stock first gen with a stock VE pump. I've driven I've driven a lot of them. I've tuned a lot of them. Not a lot, but I've tuned a handful of them. So I'm familiar with the stock truck platform. And just the blue truck alone, before the turbo swaps and all that stuff, it just drives so much better. It drives like a tune-only third gen, in my opinion. Like it's a good driving truck, and it doesn't make you want to get back in. Like, how do you feel after driving the dually and then driving the blue truck for a couple of days?
We just went over this actually, because I hadn't drove the blue truck for 2 months, and I've been driving the dually, which is it's a stock truck it does have a turbine housing swap on it, so it's got a 12 cm turbine housing on the H1C. It's got a fuel pin, and I'm pretty sure it's got a governor spring as well. And oh my goodness, that thing, I thought it ran pretty well. I got back in the blue truck, and I felt like I was in a freaking rocket ship.
I can attest to this. He came back from a test drive at like 9:30 at night, and he was smiling ear to ear. So
I forget how absolutely ridiculous that thing is, but I mean, it's just there. I mean, it's peppy. It drives nice. It's quiet. Like, and another big thing is making horsepower does not mean you sacrifice miles per gallon or fuel efficiency. That's a big question with the comp pump stuff. And I mean, really, it gets the truck moving easier. But I've seen if anything, I've seen better fuel efficiency in the blue truck
compared to the dually. Yeah. It's a bus on it in the miles per gallon category.
Yeah. I mean, every time I've taken the blue truck on a long trip, which you guys, if you've been around, I've driven it to every race it's gone to, multiple hour trips, probably 14-hour round trips and stuff. And I mean, it averages anywhere from 19 to 21 miles a gallon with the 155 engine in it. And I don't know, it does good. It definitely did not get that miles per gallon back whenever it had a stock 145 engine. It was more like 17, 18. So I don't know, that argument's kind of squashed.
And that's driving 75, 80 on the highway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's not being easy on it.
You probably can't do in a stock untouched pump truck.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, that's all calculated.
Your foot would be on the floorboard.
Yeah, and that's all calculated. I mean, off of driving, like you said, 75, 80 on the highway, getting somewhere, racing it, and turning around and going back home. So not being easy on it by any means. I would say that kind of covers the everyday person that still doesn't want to sacrifice reliability, wants good fuel mileage. All those questions hopefully are kind of clear there. You're not going to sacrifice anything to sum that up. But next is with one of Evan's pumps. We got to talk about injector sizing, because I don't want you guys to go and buy one of his pumps and put it on your bone stock truck, because the only failures Evan has seen is with a stock injector truck. We do not think it is a large enough injector to keep the pump alive. The pumps end up eating themselves with the stock injectors. So theories aside on that one, not going to dive into that. But injector sizing is crucial.
This could turn into a really long video.
Oh, yeah, we could. It's bad. We do this on a daily basis. But so, do not put a comp pump on a stock injector truck. And Evan won't sell you one if you don't tell him. I mean, like, if you told him that you're keeping stock injectors, he won't sell it to you. So
he'd sell you a set of delivery valves, governor spring, and a fuel pin, though.
Yeah.
The best you can buy.
Yeah, exactly. But diving into injector sizing, a lot of people, you'll have your stock max pump like we were talking about. They'll just keep creeping up in injector size with that stock max pump. They'll go from 5x14s all the way. I've seen them up to 5x20s. I mean, what is happening there?
What happens when you increase the nozzle orifice but do not increase anything else?
You lose injection pressure.
And what is injection pressure?
Timing. Yeah. So that is became a problem that I see a lot among the first gen community. There's been certain people that preach you need these massive injectors to make power with a VE, and especially with a stock max pump, that is not the case. Do not do that. In my opinion, and this could be highly controversial, once you get to a good 5x14 you've maxed out the stock pump. There's no debate there. A good 5x14 is good for 420 horsepower on a stock pump.
It can be argued that depending on who said injector is from, that a 5x12 will fit the bill better than anything, because a 5x14 you're still stretching it. You still have that lack of injection pressure and the high RPMs, or at least where a stock pump's going to run.
Yeah, and some people's heads are exploding right now. I know that everybody always says a 5x12, 350 horsepower on a stock max VE, great setup.
5x22 eBay nozzles I have in my cart, I can't.
Yeah, no, you actually can't. And this is, I would love to prove this, because technically we haven't done it, nobody's done it yet, but one of these bad boys right here with a quality 5x14, without a doubt in my mind, there's no reason it shouldn't do 500 to 550 horsepower. 550 would be really good, but you can't tell me that my truck, 5x16s in it, did 760. You cannot tell me that a good set of 5x14s from Weston won't do over 500 horsepower.
The common rail calculator in my head says, yeah, 5x14s would do 500.
Yeah, and in their sleep, they should, without a doubt. So,
it's like, what? And Gray's truck, granted, sorry, Gray, it may not fall into this category given the delete of the AFC, but that's a stock injector truck.
Yeah, that's a stock truck.
Like stock.
Well, was at the time of the dyno.
Yeah.
So
minus the turbo foolery since
bone
then.
stock at the time of the V battle.
And it did a hair over 3?
Yeah,
or right at
301.
Yeah.
I think 301 horsepower, bone stock, 89, I believe. It's a non-intercooled truck, but I believe it's an 89.
Yeah. So
stock 50 millimeter little H1C. He just had an AFC delete on it, governor spring. I mean,
yeah, and yes, governor spring helps some, but not so much on the dyno.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean those stock injectors in a non-intercooled truck are phenomenal. I mean they're pretty dang big for what they are.
I wish we had that graph here now, because I'd look at the RPM on it, but
yeah, no, I've got tons of dyno graphs, and that may be something we'll throw up in the following videos and stuff, because we've just got so much data from so many different trucks that came and dynoed, whether it was at the battle or if it was just the ones that were brought to me and I dyno tuned and all that good stuff up at Firepunk. But yeah, that kind of sums up the injector sizing stuff. You do not need to go crazy with injector sizing on a stock max pump. Please do not buy any bigger than a 5x14. Granted, what everybody says about 5x18s, 6x16s, all that stuff, your stock max pump will not support it. If everybody had the technology to put the oscilloscopes on their trucks and watch injection pressure in the line, you would realize that you were wasting your time and your money and all of your efforts. That shouldn't be a hot take, but for some reason in this video it's going to be a hot take.
Better yet, use your untouched KSB and untouched timing engine and throw 5x20s in there and tell me what the top of the pistons look like.
Yeah, no good. But that brings up another good point, the KSB stuff. We'll leave that for the Stock Plus video.
Yeah.
There's a lot hidden there. And then this would qualify. Technically, Evans delivery valves do get rid of these problems, but I want to go over this, because if you go from a stock max pump to this pump, these are things you're going to notice differently. The first one being, whenever you put it on or new injectors in, you don't got to bleed the fuel system.
And you don't have to buy an air dog to not do that.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Poor 12 valve folks. This one's for you.
Yeah. You don't have to crack injector lines. Anytime I've swapped injectors a lot in the blue truck, I've swapped pumps. Not a single time ever since Evans got these delivery valves figured out have I ever bled the fuel system. You do not need to do it. So
even when we swapped,
that's handy.
Even when we swapped pumps on the blue truck.
Yeah, we swapped pumps and it fired right up.
We thought something was wrong because it fired so fast.
Yeah, like it's obviously an air dog's gonna help.
Yeah.
You won't, the engine won't need to be cranking, but yeah, even if you still have an HVLP, like just crank it for a little while, for a little bit longer than normal, and it'll fire right up. Pretty nice for swapping parts, doing testing, all that good stuff.
In order to get the most out of my stock VE pump, intercooled or non, what are my fuel pressure requirements?
So fuel pressure requirements, contrary to what everybody says, well, everybody thinks that I need the most fuel pressure that I can possibly get out of whatever pump I put in here, whether it's HVLP, Air Dog, FAS, and obviously you can't go crazy with it especially on a stock pump that you have not taken off the truck, because that front seal, the front shaft seal on the pump will blow out and you will fill the entire front cover with diesel.
Insert picture that Gray sent us.
That is going up, yes. That picture is a perfect example. There's no benefit to that. I already know Brian's going to watch this video. Brian's going to argue with me. But he has a method to his madness. There's very few people like Brian. But I just want to say that lift pump pressure with this thing, I've had it all the way down to 5 PSI and all the way up to 45 PSI on the Air Dog. And it does not make any different horsepower on the dyno whatsoever. Now, the KSB graph, depending on how the KSB is shimmed, will look a little different. And that's, I think, what Brian's argument will be, and that is not wrong. But for the everyday end user, there's no point.
Yeah.
Run 15 PSI or less, and you're going to be fine. It could be 5 PSI. As long as it does not drop, you're fine.
To 0.
Yeah. Literally, the stock lift pumps on these trucks will idle at 3 PSI and drop to 0 as soon as they come off throttle. And the blue truck did that, and it still made 281 horsepower or something like that. And it was not out of lift pump because I put an Air Dog on it whenever I saw that, and it went and made the exact same number 3-4 hours later on the dyno. So that's a little food for thought there. It needs to have volume. The pressure is not as big of a deal as long as it's not dropping to 0 PSI.
Yeah, and if you're
and you don't want to kill one of these, so you want to have a good lift
exactly.
pump.
And if you're a stock pump guy, no case pressure adjustments, no nothing, and you're not running 5x20s with a stock pump, then there's really no reason to go away from the diaphragm pump.
Yeah,
a cam-driven pump, because it's reliable. You can get them at a freaking O'Reilly's.
Yeah, you probably can.
So,
in all reality, they're easy to swap. There's tons of write-ups on them. Like
yeah,
the HVLP is a great option for the folks that are most first-gen folks. Most first-gen people are very budget-oriented, big bang for their buck kind of people. Ryan, on his truck, we did 476 horsepower, I believe, with an HVLP with my same injectors and a stock appearing, and it ran out. But that was with stock lines.
I don't think the HVLP was the restriction there either. So
no, we're in agreement there. So obviously, a sump and some half-inch lines would go a long way there.
Yeah.
As Mr. Eric Gilbert has done that, and he did like 640 something years and years ago with an HVLP, and it hadn't dropped much at that time. So that is something to consider, but a very good thing that Andy brings up there. There is also with these, you no longer vapor lock your truck on long pulls whenever you let out of the throttle.
you can sidestep the shit out of that, and it's not going to VP44 yourself.
Yeah, literally. So if you guys are rotary pump guys, and whenever I say that, VE or VP guys, especially if you're a VP guy and it's making a little bit of power, you know, if you sidestep your truck or chop the throttle, it's going to die in vapor lock. VEs do the same thing, especially whenever they're making a decent amount of power. That does not happen with these pumps. Again, in relevance to the delivery valves, hop on Evan's website. It says that in the description. Cures vapor lock. It is no longer a problem. I did that one time before we figured out the whole delivery valve deal going down the track at Kilcare in Ohio on the big end. I was doing a good job of chopping the throttle, but I clicked off like the first 780 pass I ever went, and I just chopped the throttle, and that thing died going like 90 miles an hour, no power steering. That was not a good time. But
No vacuum booster either.
Oh, yeah. Bad time. I would say manual guys get into that issue a lot more.
Yeah.
Manual guys have a big problem with it that I've noticed.
So they love to.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I love to clutch kick. I don't know about you.
Yeah. And then the last one is, which Andy's kind of already brought it up, but the idle drop once your truck gets up to temperature. A lot of you guys will notice after you go on a couple hour trips, especially in the summer, your truck gets up to temp. The pump is obviously hot. The idle will be a significantly lower RPM than what it was when you left the house.
Yeah, because the fuel in here is hotter, right? The pump itself is hotter. Fuel has viscosity, and that's all that's keeping this thing together is the viscosity in the fuel. So
Yeah.
when that changes in a stock pump, you will have to deal with the consequences, and they're not necessarily consequences. They're more of
Well, people think
nature of the beast.
yeah, and,
really.
and people see that and they post in the group, and everybody tells them their pump's done, that needs rebuilt, the head and rotor's worn out.
Yeah.
And we've already proven, especially Russell's truck. Russell down in Texas.
Yeah,
You guys know Russell.
You need to like drop those.
Yeah, I'll see if I can put that video in here. Russell's truck, it idled. It had that exact problem, and swapped delivery valves,
I'd say
and
if
voila,
they have
it's
been-
gone.
That's a perfect example too, because he's down there in
Yeah, he's
Texas.
in
Hotter than
South
Satan's
Texas.
ass, yeah.
Yeah. So I know there's gonna be people in the comments saying, "Oh no, the head and rotor's worn out." No, pumps have been
Prove
apart.
it.
Yeah, pumps have been apart. Evan's looked at it. The head and rotors are never worn out. So we're like, you know what? We'll find one that does it really bad. Swap delivery valves on it, and Russell was the perfect candidate for that. And can't complain there because it worked out great. So. If you think your pump's getting worn out because of that, your cure, Evan Ratcliffe, Ratman Performance. But that kind of sums up the first video and what we were thinking for comparisons, the questions we get. Those were the high points. I don't know if we want to leave them with some final thoughts. What are the big ones?
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you
I think it should be noted that there is absolutely nothing wrong with a stock VE pump itself. Can
Correct.
it be improved? Yes. Can it break? Absolutely. But
Just like anything else.
yeah, your stock rotary pump sitting in the driveway is probably going to outlive the rest of us. So
Yeah, that's coming from common rail guy. Like, we deal with all platforms of this stuff, whether it's on-road, off-road, all of it. So
yeah, no, big common rail guy. But yeah, I mean, that I would argue that a stock VE pump is far more reliable than whatever that is.
yeah, the other rotary pump that has much higher injection pressure.
Yeah, I think I've seen more stock pump 12 valve trucks over, 130, 140,000 miles where you're seeing stock CP3 failures and you're damn sure seeing VP44 failures.
Yeah, yeah.
Can those be alleviated? Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
that's
stock
another
for stock,
misuse.
it's reliable.
Yeah. I don't know. I would agree with it. I think it's a great platform. I am so tired of hearing people talking down about it, talking about how the 350 horsepower is about your ceiling. It becomes a struggle after that. It's really not. I would love to throw it out there one day once I have more funds for this and I can support it. I would love to challenge someone to come out with a bone stock truck, and I guarantee, because people, their argument is that I've got all this crazy stuff as far as engine and everything surrounding it. I guarantee me and Andy could take a stock first gen in a weekend, and we could slap on a good air setup, which would be a single turbo, a good set of injectors from Weston, one of Evans' pumps, and a lift pump to provide enough fuel, and obviously the head studs to hold the head down. That's the given stuff. But we could do that, and I guarantee you we can make 500 horsepower. Actually, we wouldn't even need to get one of Evans' pumps.
No,
we just need parts from Evans.
I was going to say stock pump.
Yeah,
I think we could swing that.
Which is insane.
Maybe when we're not two dudes sitting in a rental house garage, we can maybe do that as a giveaway.
Yeah, whenever we have our...
Yeah, you could do that as a giveaway.
Whenever we have a dyno and all that good stuff. But
bring a truck by, we'll tune your shit.
Yeah. In all reality, if you are in Southwest Missouri, I mean, we do it for people regardless. But no, you don't need some crazy engine setup. You don't need anything out of this world. And probably 4 years ago, I could count on one hand how many people were over 500 horsepower on a VE.
Those records were old.
And they were old.
Like
very old.
RIP, but they were Comp D days.
Yeah. And these guys had crazy wild setups, and they were touching 500 barely, and this included a 14 mil pump, all this stuff. And I'm telling you, we could take a stock first gen, throw injectors, turbo, and some pump parts at it with a trans that'll hold the power, and it will make 500 horsepower.
And God, would it drive so much better.
Oh, it'll drive so good. I bet it would. Yeah, no. We'll get into our ideal setups, what we think stock plus.
Yeah, that's what our...
Yeah, so to round out this video, our list includes the following videos. So if you guys are interested in this stuff, please do come back for the next one, and even drop in the comments anything else in addition to these that you would like to see.
We should probably add another one down here where we answer questions.
Yeah, just Q&A.
Questions, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll add that at the end. But the next video is going to be stock plus. So what do we discuss stock plus is going to be? We're literally taking a...
we're taking a stock pump, setting it on a table, maybe not on a table, but wherever your stock pump may be, whether it's bolted to an engine, sitting in the bathroom, or sitting on the top of your toolbox, we're going to tell you what parts you need to put in it to make it do 500.
Yep. And literally just a stock pump that's been messed with, what you need to do.
Stock plus will also include, but not limited to, a 5x12, 14, maybe even 16 injector, and a stock appearing or small S300 of some sort.
Yeah, the minimal, the absolute minimal.
Yeah, bare bones,
And then next, we're going on to daily driver, which it can be a very...
You're asking the wrong people for this.
Very argumentative subject, because you guys know I drive the blue truck every single day, and you guys know what it makes. It's ridiculous. But daily driver, good, comfortable driver, makes good power, can tow, all that good stuff. And then since we're going to bring up the towing subject, we're going to move into towing recipes. We're going to break it down into single turbo and compound turbo application. That's going to be a fun one. There's lots of discussions there because people love to tow with these trucks, which is weird.
People love their S300 or their S300 over K31 setups.
Yes. So that's going to be interesting, and it just cracks me up because whenever I come up with some of this stuff, I'm like, oh, Brian Block is going to be on me about this. But I won't forget about you, Brian. Don't worry. Next video after that, we're going to move to hot street, which we decided 500 horsepower plus, because there's a lot of guys that don't want that much power.
So this is your first step into the comp pump world.
Yes.
If you're doing more than what we just explained.
Yeah. So, and then after that, we're going to move into max effort, which I would consider like the blue truck, stuff like that, which is just the wild stuff. So all you can get out of a comp pump, all you can get out of a 12 mil VE comp pump from Evan Ratcliffe.
The short clips we have of the third gen and no explanation, that was that.
Yeah. And then finally, the ultimate setup. So I think we're going to get fairly wild in this episode, and it's going to be fairly controversial between me and Andy because we do have different views on things, and that's what kind of brings, I don't know, I feel like we touch every corner of what people would do because we both have different ways we would go as far as, whenever I say ultimate setup, we're talking engine setups too. We're talking different displacements. We're talking different number of valves in the heads. We're not just talking your 5.9 12 valve.
God, you say some 2-valve shit.
Yeah.
I'll jump out of this.
Yeah, no. Our ultimate setups will not include a 2-valve head. Let's just get that out there. But yeah, that's going to be the ultimate setup. Crazy air, crazy engine setups. Just, I don't know. Basically what we would do if we had to make every single last horsepower we could with a VE pump and not give up.
Yeah, that's the one you're going to see on Facebook in like 3 or 4 years, and you're not going to believe it.
Yeah. Just like the
Yeah,
same
just
people.
like the blue truck the first time around.
They didn't believe the 1200 number until they saw the video and it trying to lunge off the dyno. So, yeah. And obviously, this one both of these will probably involve, we might talk nitrous setups in one of these because that's going to need to be involved. And hopefully get some of you freaking 12-valve guys to quit being scared of nitrous. This is so ridiculous. And luckily, one guy that has joined the bandwagon, oddly enough, is the guy we talked about earlier, Andrew from up in Nebraska. He's an older gentleman he sprayed water meth forever. And he got on the nitrous bandwagon and jumped 300 horsepower, and I think he was psyched out of his mind. So
yeah, I don't think he knew what to do about it.
No. So that rounds out what the videos are that we're going to go over. Again, I hope you guys are kind of looking forward to some of this stuff. I know this is not as fun of a platform, probably. This is more of a kind of a podcast-based deal. I will throw clips and pictures in of things that are relative and things we've done experience-wise. But this won't be wrenching. This won't be any of that. We're going to just try and get the information to you guys so you can get pointed in the right direction to need to look up those videos of how I change my injectors, how do I swap my VE pump, how do I do the delivery valves in my VE pump. So
Yeah,
we want to get you to that point. We want to set you guys up for success here because it's a real problem, the advice that's on the freaking internet.
Yeah, and this is kind of the third corner of what we do, right? We go to work every day, we come home, we shitbox, we wrench, and that's what people see, that's what people like. But this, even just this conversation, this happens like what? Every day,
yeah,
at least?
Literally. And people ask us all the time is, where did we get started? How do we know all this stuff? This is not just something that came upon us.
No.
This has been
years.
Yeah, me and Andy have known each other for a long freaking time, and this is how it's always been. But yeah, please, before you go and look up stuff on Facebook, I hope you find this video first. This is going to be way better information. Do not go to 12-valve Cummins Builders Group.
God, no.
On
please,
Facebook and try and get VE advice. Oh my goodness.
I will find you. You comment in there, I will find you.
Yes. And even the 89 to 93 page isn't terrible, but the advice that's given in there is fairly terrible. Luckily, there's some of us that try and keep that to a minimum. But if you're going to join a page and ask questions and actually get good feedback, just join the First Gen Addiction Facebook group. It's a little plug for Jade made the Facebook page, but
and if,
all of us are in there.
If you want this information and you're willing to listen to it and maybe take it into account, this is where you need to be.
Yeah, exactly. We, in the nicest way possible, one of the reasons we are making this video or all these videos is because me and Andy are extremely tired of getting these same questions over and over, A, and B, people going to Facebook pages getting a more over-exaggerated response and a lot more comments from other people, and then come to us 2 months later and ask why their truck doesn't run the way that they thought it would. And it's because they came and asked us, they got the right advice, they went elsewhere and didn't listen to us, and now we're crying about it.
Did you install that 1 or 10 parts I told you were a waste of money and you shouldn't have installed?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to try and keep to a minimum here. But that is probably all the talking you guys want to hear. I hope you guys are excited about it. We're looking forward to making some of these, and I'll try and throw clips in here to keep you guys entertained as much as possible so you don't have to look at our faces the whole time. But until next time, keep your rotary pumps. Don't be going to that inline crap. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Keep kicking it old school.
Yeah, and as always, keep kicking it old school. Peace out.